Thanks for being there. Absolutely. And it's really nice. Here's the thing. This is really nice. Good size. I mean, like I'm driving through the city. Oh, really?
Car, right?
What happened was coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Get there around 6:30. And got off. It was crazy. We ended up coming all the way up.
Okay.
This is considered as your all the way up to the.
I'm glad you reminded me because I totally forgot about it.
This is your line. Yeah, they're still streaming over there.
We're doing 2 shows. Okay. Okay, can't get it back. I'm not terribly surprised for that.
I'll show you.
Well, I'm surprised at how bad.
Oh, yeah.
As much as I love preschool,
You can't have well, not new play. Instead of high shale.
I was
Serious.
Careful. You gotta have the machines on all your floors.
Under my house.
Yeah.
But I had there he put in like he paid 10 babies. That's what you get for adoption. Get it out.
I got it from these guys. I've given them 4 or 5 years.
I watch it.
Everybody's not gonna get a question.
I know, it's me.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
You sent me those other two. I used this service called Shadow.
That's one of the great moments.
What, something going on? Are my Hot Wheels worth anything, you guys? In the collector's world?
They're still in the original.
Some are, yeah. You got it played? No, I just display it.
You like I know.
I mean, they're, I don't have 68 circa 75, they're all, but I do have 3 of the beach bombs, the Vans, red, blue, and a purple one, still in the wrap.
You're like Steve Brown before you over. Do you remember? I remember like in the early 70s when it was like Shell had those NFL booklets.
Yes. You fill up all the teams. Yeah. I think that was back in the days where my mom didn't want to pay 40 cents a gallon. Look, keep an eye out for something underneath 40 cents. S&H green stamp.
I got some of those.
Yeah.
And of course, we went back to football game.
Really?
No, I get electric. Yeah, that's right. We never passed.
My electric football game was the Vikings Cowboys.
Oh, really? Yeah. I thought everything was Texans.
No, it was Minnesota. We bought you Minnesota.
The team would get together randomly.
Yeah. What was the kicker?
Oh, yeah. We wore that.
I think I was a little too old when I got them, because when they said that at class, like after Christmas, like one of the girls said, "Oh, a little old for rocket." Yeah.
So yesterday. That'll pay off.
All right, folks, thanks for being here. In this off-week improvement, we're going to open up Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
What are some of the main concepts that Chip's brought to the offense? And furthermore, why do you like him coaching from the box, not the field?
Anyone who's called the game would tell you that you can get yourself organized a lot easier being up in the box. Most play callers want to get their next series organized, and I think now with the added part of it being having the tablets and being able to watch the last series. If you just think about it logistically and practically, you have a desk there, you can put your call sheet here, you can put the tablet over here, you can write things down on a sheet of paper. You can't do that when you're on the sideline. So, I think, he enjoys being up there, being organized, and separates yourself from the sideline, allows you to think clearly. It also gives you a really good vantage point from up there, what's going on, in a series. Great news now is we have these tablets so we can see exactly what happened after the series. But I think overall, just logistically, it's probably, easier to call the game from up there.
Some of the main concepts that he's brought that you can get into.
Yeah, I think you can see some things. We ran some speed option the other night. That's something we really haven't done a lot of. You see some different concepts that are out there, and certainly has had an impact on the run game and some of the different things that we've done, but more importantly, things that are coming down the road. I also think just understanding the things that our guys do well and that fit our guys. I mean, that's the experience that you just can't you can't replace something like that. And he's been around long enough. He knows what it looks like, and making sure that when we attack another team, we know exactly the structure of what they're doing and what their strengths and weaknesses are.
Jared Smalley, WCMH, parlay.
Ryan, two things, but they're related to each other. Bye week means players now in the modern college football era have opportunities. Name, image, and likeness opportunities. Things outside of the football building that maybe give them a little bit more time to do that. But then you all, from the football side, have your own organizational structure with NIL. And so I'm wondering, in a week like this, how do you try to make sure kids can take advantage of those opportunities? And how does it work on your side to help them manage their time and understand, keeping the important things important?
Yeah. For this week, we're calling it an improvement week because we need to continue to improve. Everybody else in the country is playing this week, for the most part. So we have to as well. I mean, we got to get each other better. And so each player is going to be given things that they need to improve on from their position coach. We're going to work hard to go out there and practice and work on our fundamentals, but also look at things that, we may need to project out, that we may need in both sides of the ball in all three phases. So, I mean, that's the number one thing this week, is that we got to stay in rhythm. We got to have a good week of practice and, think of it like a game week. So when it comes to off the field stuff, I mean, it's comes down to time management. And, these guys understand what the main thing is right now. During the off season, there's certainly great opportunities, but, unless it's something that's really pressing, these guys, they need to take care of their academics first, and then football. And then the other stuff, will come down the road. And so, the better these guys play, the more opportunity they're going to have. And they understand that. And they've been great. So we don't see a lot of conflicts, but, it all comes down to time management. But I think some of the folks that we've dealt with and that our players are dealing with understand too, that once the season starts, those asks have to be far and few between. And the time for that more often is during the off season. Not that there aren't situations that come up, but I think most people are respectful of that.
Dave Holmes, WSYX.
Yeah, Ryan, I mean, I know Mac bye might not be ideal from your mindset. I'm curious, if you could just structure your own schedule with this new long season, 2 byes, it's a different type of year, how would you want to structure a season?
Every year is different. The way that the schedule played out this season, it's a lot different than the last couple when, we knew we had a Power 5 non-conference opponent on the schedule early in the season. So it has allowed us a little bit of an opportunity with some of the newer guys to get them going and let them get their feet underneath them. As we grow, we know that we got a long way to go in this thing. And so it's just been a little bit different that way for two reasons. One, just a few more new faces, but also, the fact that, we didn't have that Power 5 non-conference early in the season. So not that, it necessarily changes your approach all that much, but, having a bye in week 2 and, allows you to kind of reassess things, come up for air, figure out where you need to improve and kind of go from there. But it seems like, there's a build up to the season as we're moving forward. So, it's not like, you just kind of, walk into the season though. I mean, that's not the way this game's played. I mean, you gotta, people say it's a marathon. I've said it before. It's not. It's 12 straight sprints as hard as you possibly can go. And I do felt like, coming out of the game, watching the film, that we played hard on Saturday night. I think guys played with emotion, guys played with passion, and that's a good start. That's a good sign. We're nowhere where we need to be. I think the good thing about this team is they would tell you these guys have played a lot of football. Even some of the guys that have come in, like Will and Seth, these guys have played football before. They know that this is just the beginning. Like, we're literally just getting out of the starting gates. But to see the guys play with the energy and passion and effort that we had on Saturday night. That's a good start as we move forward.
Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Brian, a lot of changes in college football. We've talked a lot about it. Is culture, program culture, more important than ever with the transfer portal, with NIL, keeping guys here? They have to really buy in, not just to winning, but to the whole thing you're presenting.
I think if you want to have stability over an extended period of time, yes. Yeah, I think it's very, very important. Now probably more than ever. Yeah. And I think when you're at Ohio State, understanding those that have come before, understanding the tradition, understanding what it means to be a Buckeye is a big part of that. And so during the recruiting process, or even during the acquiring of the 7 transfers that we brought in, they have to understand what it means. You can't just bring in somebody to, be a quote unquote mercenary where they just come in and play and then leave. That's not what Ohio State is. And so our focus is on recruiting great people, developing them, retaining them, which is what we did this year. There's been a lot of talk about, numbers getting thrown out and everything. Well, the majority, if not, 90% of it was retaining our roster. And that's what it's all about. And that's important here at Ohio State, to make sure that the guys who decided to be Buckeyes in the recruiting process, the guys who stuck with us when they had an opportunity to go to the transfer portal, the guys who decided to come back, who had an opportunity to go to the NFL, that, we were able to retain them, because there's a lot of talent in that locker room, but the majority of them were already on the team. And that's the recipe, is recruiting great people who understand what it means to be a Buckeye and developing them and retaining them.
Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
We talked a lot in fall camp about building off the line gap with the illness that kind of hit the group.
Yeah.
What have you seen from that group in terms of the depth going in all the field, and then what do you feel like you saw from Akron to West Michigan last week?
Hard to tell. I think it was cleaner. I think there's still, this is everybody across the board. You look up at the end of the game and score is what it is. We weren't looking at the score. But there was effort. There was good plays. There was one play, Josh Fryer's running 50 yards down the field. There's a couple plays where Tegra's taking somebody and finishing them into the ground, like Seth McLaughlin up at the second level, finishing guys, on the long run or the long throw to Jeremiah, where, he turned and obviously ran away from everybody. Josh Simmons, which, everyone's looking over here, he's finishing a guy into the sideline. That's to me what we need to continue to work on and focus on and build on. That being said, I think that things were cleaner, but it's just a start. Bigger challenges ahead. But there is encouragement out of that group. And I did think that the guys who came in the second half and the O-line was a group that, again, was it perfect? No. But I did feel like coming out of this game, it was better than it was the last couple of years, where we were finishing at the end of games. Guys were competing. If you don't play 15 plays, you can't grade out a champion. But if you grade out over 80% and play less than 15 plays, we call it honorable mention. There was a long list of honorable mention players coming out of this game, and a few of them were on the O-line.
Deep right, Jeremy Birmingham, Kingsland, the podcast.
Right, the improvement week thing, where did it come from, number one? But number two, how did the team respond to that idea of being challenged this week, as opposed to in the past, maybe an off week would be a take a deep breath week? How have you seen the guys respond to that, and where did the idea for this come from?
Well, when you look at it, you don't usually have 2 bye weeks. I think maybe there's been a year where we did have 2 bye weeks, and especially this early in the season, it's just these guys are hungry. They don't want to rest right now. They feel like they got momentum coming out of this game. Now, at the same time, we're not going to practice on Saturday or Friday, so they do get an opportunity to catch their breath. But we are going to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because they understand how important this is, how early it is in the season, and they don't want to lose their edge either. They know they have to get better. So when you have a group of veteran guys who understand that, we're only 2 games in and we got a long way to go, they get that, they embrace it. And so we'll get, the guys who are the 1s and 2s and the older guys some reps, but they know how important it is when Denzel Burke gets, taken out of the game, that, Jermaine's got to step up into the game. And, that's just one example. Or Austin Saraville had to play the first couple games because Donovan was out, or Arvell Reese, got thrust into duty. So, I think you saw guys at the end of the game, like Aaron Scott got his hands on some balls. You saw the running backs run well. You saw Jalen McClain make a tackle for a TFL. So we need to continue to work to get better. We got a long way to go, but that includes the older guys too. I mean, these guys want to get better and continue to work on it. And so the position coaches will let them know what they feel like they need to focus on this week. And then we go from there.
Did you get any clarity on what they were calling that targeting penalty for?
I did. And I think that there was, a couple different opinions of that after the game. And I guess that's all I can really say, but that's all I can say. I wish I could say more.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ron, you guys had a later game last week and a chance to watch maybe some of the earlier games. Did you get a chance to watch Kyle at Syracuse and just what have you made maybe of his start to the year?
No, it looks, he's off to a great start. I've only seen a few highlights and it looks like he's doing a great job. And looks like the first couple games he's gotten a good rhythm and got a great win this past weekend. And so happy to see him doing well so far this season.
Have you gotten used to in college football seeing so many guys who were once connected with your QB room like playing elsewhere?
I know it's a lot different. You see Quinn had a great win obviously this past weekend, and Joe, and obviously we've had our great quarterbacks here as well, but it's the way of the world. And I think that's one of the reasons in recruiting and we sell that to guys too, is that when you come to Ohio State, you're going to get developed at a high level at every position. But at quarterback, I take a lot of pride in that, and the fact that we develop guys at a high level, and that even if you were to leave, we don't want you to leave, but even if you were to leave, it's still time well spent and invested. And so, you're happy when guys go on and do well, even though, you want to retain as many guys as you can. That's our whole culture, but it's just the way of the world. So, happy to see Kyle do well. He won some great games here and poured a lot of effort into the program. So, but it's like that with I think Joe Royer's doing well down at Cincinnati, and so we follow those guys and want to support them.
Austin Ward's podcast.
Ryan, what have you learned about Will through those two starts, and what would be the improvement week challenge for him?
I think for us, seeing Will out there, it's all new, it's fresh, his first game, quote unquote, but he's played a lot of football. He's got a poise out there. He's got a command out there that you can feel. I don't know if you guys feel it watching it, but I feel it on the sideline. He's able to take the practice and the meeting to the game, where sometimes when you get into a game, like they don't see it, and the information coming back is like, whoa, we got an issue here. He sees it. I think, and I said this like during the preseason, I didn't feel like we'd get an idea of the type of impact that Will would make until he was actually playing in a football game. That's just kind of the way he is because of his size, his ability to run. You've seen him extend some plays. You've seen him now with his feet a little bit, which will continue. And he's made some very accurate passes. There's other ones though, for sure, that I know he wants back. And to me, it just comes down to his feet, and we'll continue to work on those type of things. But it's like anything else, the more comfortable you are, the more reps you're getting. Even the plays that we're running in practice that we're not running in a game because we didn't get to them. Those are all, the more he does them, the more comfortable he's going to do. The timing, you're learning. When you do them for the first time, after you do them for a while, you're remembering. And he's done a pretty good job of only taking a play where he's only repped a few times and putting it on the field. And we're going to need to continue to do that. But I think as time goes on, you'll start to see that ball come out of his hand, with even more and more rhythm and more pace.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, we saw Jaden Ballard kind of make a mistake fielding the kickoff. Are you guys comfortable with him continuing to be that kickoff returner, or are you guys still betting other options there?
We think that Jaden Ballard had a really good offseason. He was recognized as a gold individual during the offseason, which is significant in our program. So we've given him the opportunity to return kicks and a couple punts here. But the number one thing is taking care of the football. So that has to happen. And we believe in who Jaden is, but at the end of the day, we got to take care of the football. So we are going to evaluate it during this week and make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Road.
Ryan, with all the attention on Quinchon and Will and Caleb as transfer additions, how much has Seth meant to getting this offensive line corrected from last year?
Yeah, he's been a pro. Same thing, calms everything down inside. Even if Coach Fry or myself are barking at him, like we will, he just has a calming presence. Like, we got it. We'll get this straightened out. And that's a good feeling. That's what you want to hear as a coach. I mean, when you're going at somebody and they look at you in the eye, like, we'll get this thing straightened out, and they do. Like, that's when you got somebody who's a leader, who's got poise, and can kind of pull everybody together. I do think it's been great to get Austin in there, to get Tegra in there, but now having Donovan coming back is going to even make it more solidified in there, just so that when something changes during the game, we can make quick adjustments. I do think having that tablet on the sideline is very helpful. I mean, because when you can identify what has happened on the last play, not just coming from the booth, but showing them, especially a young player. Like, there was a play in particular where, one of the guys, missed a block, and I'm like, I haven't seen that one time in all preseason. Like, just let it go. Don't start, stressing or having anxiety over it. Just go block the 3 technique. I mean, you're blocking Tyleik Williams every day in practice. I watch it on film, where maybe in another scenario, you're more frustrated from the sideline because you're not sure exactly how that just shook out. Like, we just didn't use good technique, and he was a little tentative there. And then as time went on, like the game went on, got his feet underneath him and just started like rolling guys out of there. Like, I think it's really helped our coaching in terms of being accurate in what we're saying during a game. But getting back to your point about Seth, he gives us great information, and he can help us with that in terms of seeing what's happening in the game, why something maybe broke down, what happened with the communication, which allows us to address things faster, which allows us to get in a rhythm quicker, if that all makes sense.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
You mentioned after week 1, just Chip Kelly's patience with sticking with the run game, even when it wasn't necessarily working. You also kind of admitted that maybe you would have gotten frustrated in those moments. I asked that to say, now that you're not, I mean, I was calling play clutch for a while, for like, do you feel like you're more demonstrative on the field now, that you're not necessarily in your play sheet? You don't have to necessarily worry about that play by player, so it frees you up a little bit in how you're reacting to things out there, because that's Chip and Jim's job upstairs to maybe be a little bit more poised in those moments.
I think when you're calling plays, it's first off, it's hard to be anything other than calm, because you have to get your thoughts together. You have to get your next series of plays ready, your next third down calls. You have to communicate while the defense is out there on what just happened and make those corrections. I mean, there's a lot going on during that time. And then when the offense is out there, I mean, you're calling the plays, you're getting the personnel grouping in there. So there's a lot going on right there. So to get too much involved with everything else, it's not that easy. When you're not doing that, now I can just be myself and just chase everybody around. And to me, like, that's been, I've enjoyed doing that. I've enjoyed being with the defense and being with the special teams and barking at everybody. And, but that's typically how I am in practice. It's just when you're in a game, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. So I have enjoyed that part of it so far. And, so we'll just keep growing from it, but it does allow me the opportunity to have my eyes up and involve with everybody and take part in all the emotion.
Does it allow you to maybe fight for things a little bit more? Like, there was, I think, Brandon Dennis's catch. Like, it seemed like you were fighting for whatever you were fighting for down there for a good 2 or 3 plays after it happened.
Well, when you have the calls, you got to call the next play, and you can't get in it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna fight for everything we have, and fight for every possible inch. It doesn't matter what the score is. That's my job as the coach, because these players are counting on me to do that. And but not having to call the plays has certainly allowed me more of that opportunity to be more involved in the game management, seeing the clock, communication on all 3 phases, encouraging the players and everything else.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, you've talked a lot in the offseason about playing depth, and obviously you guys have been able to do that these first 2 games. But down the road, those opportunities, I assume, will decrease. How do you still work in those guys? I know it won't be as much, but how do you continue to make that a focus in games that maybe the opportunities aren't as obvious?
Yeah, I think we had over 80 guys playing this game. Yeah, so good for team morale, good for evaluation at each depth or in the depth of at each position. I think each position is different. Like I know Larry's going to roll multiple guys at defensive end. He wants to roll guys at defensive tackle. And if guys like K-Mac and Hero, continue to build and grow and those type of things, then they will. But I think at each position, it's based on how those guys do. And if the position coach feels like he's playing at starter level, if they're playing at starter level, I've said this before, they deserve to roll and they deserve to play. I mean, just because Donovan's coming back doesn't mean Austin Saraville doesn't deserve to play. He does. So we've got to get him into the mix and figure out what that balance looks like. So, same thing at quarterback. Like at some point, we're going to have to get these guys in there and playing meaningful snaps in a meaningful game. So it'll just depend on each position and where they're at. And then, those guys got to help on special teams. And then obviously when injuries pop up, they got to be ready to go. So, we'll just keep evaluating as time goes on.
Tony Gerben, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, last week you talked about playoff metrics. Do you have anybody doing anything right now looking at cursory playoff opponents, doing any scouting of teams? And then do you have anybody doing the same thing in terms of the transfer portal? Like how do you prepare for that right now?
Yeah. So we have in our recruiting department, Billy Homer is tasked with the portal. So he'll be evaluating all the college players across the country. It's a big job. And I think that is, significant that the way that our structure of our entire staff is always going to be looked at to make sure that we're staying up with the times. And that's something we did, a couple of years ago to make sure that we were ahead that way, which is good too, because it gives us some feedback on the teams that we're playing, because not only is he looking at our opponents and the personnel there, but he's also looking at it for down the road and possible guys that may go into the portal. So to answer your question, yeah, we're looking at our future opponents because we're evaluating anyways. It's almost like in the NFL, you have the college scouting department, then you have the pro football or the scouting department where they're looking at all the free agents and guys in the league. It's the same thing here. We have the guys evaluating high school, but then also the guys that are playing in college. So we'll evaluate all those guys and get personnel information as time goes on.
What kind of feedback do you even want feedback right now on any of that?
It's still a little bit early, but and we have friends too, who are out there who see some different teams, and we just want to get an idea of what's out there. So yeah, I'm constantly asking, what's going on, what's out there, because as we look ahead, we got to know what we're up against, and not that we're focused on any of that stuff, but it is good to know and just get an idea of what's going on across the country.
Bill Landis, Kings of the North, the podcast.
Ryan, you guys in the past have talked about how good CJ Hicks can be when he's blitzing, or you kind of just cut him loose and let him get after the quarterback. I did notice this week that Cody, Sonny, and Arvell all seem to play more than him at linebacker with the first team defense. Have there been any conversations about making CJ perhaps more of a line of scrimmage player as you try to find how he fits into a crowded linebacker picture and ways for him to help the defense?
Yeah, we have. But we need CJ right now to play linebacker. And then I think that there's certain things that you mentioned that right now he's doing better than others. We need to find a consistency there that we believe that he can do at linebacker. And, although we have a few guys already, he needs to be part of that group, because, if you're playing with three linebackers in the game, all it takes is one injury and you're right in the middle of it. And we know, this is a long season. So he has to improve. He's got to continue to grow. We've seen him do it. We know that he can do it. It's just the consistency part of it. And so we believe in CJ in a big way. And so I know James and everybody in that room is trying to get him there, because we want and need him to play linebacker.
Don Sperry, WBNS.
Coach, your defense limited him 99 yards, no points. What impressed you the most with your defense through 2 games, and what needs to get better?
I guess it's hard to say what needs to get better other than just everything, because we know we're nowhere we need to be. But to me, it's the It's the energy. It's the guys flying around. It's knocking back the line of scrimmage. It's guys on the back end running to the ball, playing with violence, playing with great emotion. You can just feel it. You can see it, and that's what we want. There was a couple third down conversions, but that was about it. I mean, they pretty much dominated like we thought they could. And when you get off the field on third down against teams that are going to try to shorten the game on you, that makes all the difference in the world, and certainly just takes a lot of stress off the offense. Now, it certainly helps when the offense is scoring touchdowns like they are, but some of those third down stops were huge. In the first game, certainly the defensive scores were big. And it's been good to get a lot of guys reps, but all these guys, well, maybe not all of them, but the guys who have played a lot of football know that this is just the beginning. We got a long way to go, and we got a lot of big challenges coming down the road.
Yeah, granted, the opponents you played have obviously not been great, but you've outscored them 108-6. I don't think the other team's gotten in the red zone, if I'm right about that. But a coach is designed, you're built to worry about things. What is keeping you up at night, or what's the thing that's foremost in your mind about, okay, I got to be on guard about this?
Well, and that's why you start from the beginning as a coach, and you just say it's not about the opponent, it's about us, it's about our standard. Well, what is the standard? Grade a champion, be the hardest playing team in the country. So we know what the standard is, and that's what we have to focus on, is the process, not the result. And when I say, like, once we got going in that game, like, I didn't even know what the score was. Like, it was, and I feel like the whole team was that way. Like, we just kept playing and looked up at the end, and that was the score. And I thought guys were competing in the second half, and so that was good. But it goes back to our practice. And, if we can practice the way that we did on Tuesday and Wednesday, even Thursday, then, we can be hard to beat. But we have to continue to do that. We have to keep bringing it every single day. And, it's that competitive stamina that I've talked about before, so it's just the beginning, and I know everybody's, excited about, how we played the last couple of games, but, it's just like anything else, whether it's criticism or it's praise, it's all noise. And so, we can't get caught up in any of that stuff, and we got to get back to work and have a great week of practice this week and keep moving forward.
How about the tablet? What view are you getting? Are you getting the 22 view? Or are you getting the TV view? I mean, what are you able to see? And is it instantaneous, I assume?
Yeah, we get it after every drive in all three phases. So, you get done with an offensive drive, you go over, it's uploaded onto the tablet, and you get to see the sideline, you get to see the end zone, and then you do see the TV copy as well. So there's three different views that you're able to see for each of those plays. And then same thing will happen on special teams. Once a kick happens, you're able to go over, watch the kick, and those three views.
Apologize to those who I can't get to today. We're going to wrap it up with Tim Main, Letterman Row.
Thank you, Jerry. Just a quick point first. So what's the coaching point with Denzel Burke after that play? He got hit in the side of the helmet. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So what is the coaching point there that you make with Denzel?
Yeah, I didn't really give him much of a coaching point there. I thought he was giving great effort. I told him in the moment, I gave him a hug and told him there's not much we can do about it right now. And then I'll try to make sure I go to bat for you the best I can. And that's what I did.
So you went to bat. Number two, Ty Hamilton, in a nutshell, kind of like his brother, just matured as he went along and stuff. Put him into perspective in terms of what he has brought, where you saw him really step up maybe last year, and what he brings to that defense.
Well, first off, Ty has been reliable, durable, somebody that we can count on for a few years now, and he's put time and he's put effort and he's put work into this program, and he was the player of the game on defense this week. You just can't say enough about somebody like this. He's not somebody that garners a whole bunch of attention or makes it about him. He's the ultimate team player. He doesn't say a whole lot, but he goes to work every day, and you can just count on him to be there. And those are the people that a great team needs: a foundation of people who are unselfish, hardworking, understand what it means to be a Buckeye. And now he's become a very, very good player. And if he can continue to play and take off from where he was on Saturday night, then you're looking at an all-conference player for sure.
And what does this start do for Jeremiah Smith? I mean, are you reminding him things are going to get tougher? I mean, how are you approaching it with him in the stepping stone fashion that this season seems to be lined up to be?
He's disciplined. This is not somebody who, I think, needs to be told that, hey, reel it in. I mean, he stays very focused. If we recognize anything other, then we'll address it. But, he wants to be great. He knows what he wants to get done. I think he would tell you that this is just a start as well. I think he's always envisioned himself in this role and having an impact like this right from the jump. We talked about that during the recruiting process. And so it started in January, and actually it really started during the high school process. And then in January he got here and, stepped right into the role. So although he's young, I think he's, wise beyond his years, the way that he approaches the game. And so we'll keep a close eye on it. But right now he's staying very hungry.
Coach, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yep.
I saw Coach Knowles right outside. He'll be here momentarily. I don't know. I just have to see what the bride wants. What her schedule is. That's bad as you.
Just in case it's a goodie.
Mike, I want to do this. I can get to that 1 o'clock. Hey, folks, after Coach Knowles, you're fine to be on the indoor for podcasts. Got to be out of there by 2, though. But if everybody else could move their writing to the lobby, just so they can be ready in here for meetings.
I think he did.
Just for your own good.
I think Al's podcast. Is he live streaming? I have tight schedule when I get Knowles. I'm not going to Tony's. I have to do it. I'm gonna get Knowles up.
I don't do it alone.
Thanks for everybody on this. Had I will have a window for Bill Rice if you wanted to. Just like that. There's Jim Knowles.
Are you being facetious?
Should I hit this or you?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we're going one and done, 15 minutes. Start here in the front, Austin, go ahead.
Jim, from your perspective with Denzel's ejection, is there any, is that avoidable? Is that something you can work out? What did you make of that play there?
It's unfortunate. Understand the rules and trying to protect players. It's just have to keep your head up. It's gray area. I think anything we can learn is keep your head up. It's been something I think since football players put on helmets, the natural tendency to kind of drop your head. I mean, I think that can eliminate a lot of errors and potential injuries. Is just see what you hit, keep your head up.
All right, we'll go to left field, Jared Small. Hi, Jim. You can look in the stats after the game and see that Cody had 3 tackles and a sack, and those are the measurables. But can you explain the things that maybe we wouldn't see statistically that he can make such a difference for you with his experience, ability to get people lined up, having been there a little bit? How valuable a commodity is he?
Yeah, Cody's the leader of the defense, the quarterback for the defense, conscientious young man, and bleeds Ohio State. I mean, there are, as you said, so many more things that he gives the team aside from statistics, and I think it just brings a general confidence to everyone when he's out there.
don't hear Tony Ferdinand.
Jim, having somebody like Jermaine Matthews, I think some people would call that a luxury. I think it's more of a necessity in today's game. I know you weren't concerned about him coming onto the field, but what did you think of his response? How did he stay? How did he stay ready? And then, do you agree that it's a necessity?
Yeah, I mean, this is a long season. Strange things can happen, unfortunate things. So depth is critical. Yeah, I mean, Jermaine is in that area I've talked about before of guys who, might not be a starter, but in our mind, he's considered one. So you don't blink when he goes in. I mean, he's a guy who has proven to be able to compete in, the toughest games and situations. So he's kept himself prepared with a good attitude and, came in and did a good job.
Go here in the front, big Bill.
I'm going to ask about a couple other young second-year backups, Arvell Reese and Caden McDonald. What are you seeing out of Arvell Reese and Caden McDonald, and do you see their roles continuing to grow this season?
Yes, on both. I mean, Arvell has made tremendous improvements since he's arrived here. You're seeing him play fast. He's got tremendous physical tools. So for a linebacker, it's just a matter of, knowing what to do and not having to think about it. So what you're seeing out of Arvell now is he's understanding where all the pieces go, and he's able to play fast without thinking. K-Mac has been doing a great job since he got here, even on scout team and giving our offense fits. So, we've been expecting him to have a breakout year, and he showed it last week. Made a lot of plays.
I asked a similar question of Ryan. I mean, you've given up 6 points, 2 long field goals. I don't think you've let anybody in the red zone. What's your top concern about this defense, if there is one at this point, other than just keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I see a lot of things formationally. I see things that maybe other people don't. So that's really my biggest concern, is just staying on top of things that maybe didn't show up in the game, but I saw the possibilities for, down the road, and how other people are going to scout us, and self-scouting, and, seeing what I called and how I can have the, more change-ups available when we need them. But it's just trying to look at every play and seeing what we did, which for the most part has been good, and what are the other things that can come off of it? How are other teams going to look at us?
Second row, Steven.
A couple of weeks ago, when we were asking about safety depth, you talked about maybe there's a bit of a gap between obviously where Caleb and Lathan are as experienced and 2 of the best guys in the country, and then where the guys behind them are. Getting Jalen and Malik on the field the last 2 weeks, are you seeing some promise that maybe some depth is starting to get built there?
Yes. I mean, both of those guys are coming along, and the more reps they get, they've been showing up and doing all the right things and playing hard and making the checks and making plays when their number's called. So the more reps we can get them, the better. Because like I said, football is it's a tough game, long season, and we need them.
Third row, Rob Oliver.
Jim, when we don't hear a guy's name up in the press box, is he not making plays? Is he doubled from your experience? Is it just the way the game's going? It's played out. What combination of all those things?
Yeah, I mean, it's so much happens in our game that most of us can't see, and you never know what the guy's assignment was, what he was taught, what he was trained to do. So it all comes down to the evaluation by the coaches, and we have those iPads now, so we're getting everything in real time. So you can really pretty much grade a player after every series. I mean, you can. So you can see what his value is to the defense based on the call. But whether his name gets called or not is really not important to us. It's more of how is he functioning in the scheme.
Go back to the front row, Joey Kaufman.
Jim, what have you seen from Ty Hamilton? He's made an impact, and just what's he doing there?
Yeah, I mean he's been making an impact since I've been here, but he has developed into a dominant player. I mean, he's a guy that can control the interior of the line of scrimmage, and that's a big deal. I've always said when your defensive tackles make tackles, it allows you to do other things in coverage and how many people you commit down to the box. So Ty is quiet, but he's like a cold-blooded gentleman. I mean, he really is a force that I think is sometimes maybe difficult to see. But when you watch the tape, he is knocking people back and really just creating some difficult situations for the offense.
Go deep center field, Jeremy Birmingham.
Jim, when you're talking this week is improvement week, you guys obviously just had a shutout, 99 points and all that stuff. How do you guys get better? Where's the biggest area that you're thinking about heading into this extended time off?
Yeah, it comes down to fundamentals, one, right? All those things that in matchup games are going to be critical, whereas maybe we had a decided advantage in certain areas. But when I watch the tape, I can see how we have to, fix certain things or be on top of certain things, slight adjustments here or there. Because it'll be critical when you get to the matchup game. So, and then, it's all looking at what we did and how future offenses are going to view us and where I'm predicting that the attack will come from. So we try to stay ahead and work in those areas.
Go on the aisle here, Bill Landis.
Jim, with Arvell kind of making the push he seems to be making, and obviously Cody and Sonny at linebacker, are there any discussions about different ways for CJ to still impact things for the defense? I'm just wondering if he could potentially be more of a line of scrimmage guy than a linebacker.
We haven't discussed that because, CJ is still developing very well and he's considered very much a part of that mix with those guys at linebacker. But, I've said it before, it's always in the back of my mind because, I think he has those gifts and tools to be able to do something like that. So it's nothing we've really discussed, but it's always there for me because I know it may come into play at some point.
What brings it to the front of your mind? I guess what would have to happen?
Well, I would have to, you would have to maybe experience some depth issues in other places. I mean, we're so talented on the edge right now and our depth is so good that it's not something that we need to do right now. But, if something comes up, it's always a possibility.
Got time for 3 more. We'll go to Cameron T. Robinson.
Jim, kind of continuing on that, I think a lot of times this summer we thought of the linebackers, Sonny, Cody, and CJ. How much has Arvell's growth and ascension in that rotation helped you find different ways to rotate them and give you more freedom of what you can call, just now having 4 guys who seem like you can play?
Yeah, I mean, it adds another guy. And Arvell, like I said, his growth has really been fantastic. And he's gone through some lulls, as a younger guy. He's gone through some ups and downs. And it's like, it's like a daily thing in practice. And now he's on a path of sustained production. And you see him kind of jumping off the film, playing fast. So that adds to our depth at that position, which is really important, particularly when you get into 3 linebacker looks, is an extra guy, and we need 4, we need 5. You know, I've really liked what Gabe has done in limited rep. You know, he's had limited reps, but he's really done a good job. So I'd like to see him starting to get into that mix, but Arvell has certainly helped us.
Jim, how important is it this week during the improvement week to get red zone defensive reps against the offense when you guys haven't had those in a game?
Yeah, we do it all the time. Yeah, we do it all the time, and Coach Day puts that in constantly. We do it every week. You know, of course, we do it against the scouts when we're going against an opponent, but we do it against our offense too. You know, good on good, red zone pass stuff, and you know, regular red zone. We keep it in. You know, against good competition all the time.
We'll wrap it up in May. 2 games in, what is the greatest luxury of the way Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs are playing? Have they played up to the standards you expected? You understand what I'm saying? And where does it go from here, I guess, in that standpoint?
They have, and we just keep pushing. We got to push everybody, you know, striving for perfection. And, you know, those are 2 guys, you know, let's face it, we haven't had to unleash very much, so to speak. But you've seen on those specific examples, when we have unleashed them, you know, they go from A to B pretty quick, you know. So I think it's just a matter of continuing to push, putting some tweaks in, keeping their aggressiveness alive through the different call. Like, we just haven't had to do it very much. But when it shows up, it's pretty cool.
And like you said, you hardly ever sleep, drink a lot of coffee, whatever. But is there any kind of comfort of having those? You explain the comfort level of having 2 guys like that on the backside of your defense.
Yeah, I think you just I don't want to say take it for granted, but you don't sweat it. I mean, it's just you know you can go in to those 2 and say, hey, this week we want to do it this way. And by the way, against this, I want you to make this call. Okay, ready, break. You know, and then you just, you know what I mean? You know, when you have to put in these slight adjustments week to week, it's not something you don't say, oh, man, can that guy handle that? You know, you just kind of roll. Okay, here's what we're going to do. And then, okay, got it, coach. And that's it. So it certainly makes it easier to make adjustments.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.